Last week at this time, we were talking up Nebraska's chances of getting back in the Big Ten Western Division race. They had their shot, and unfortunately, we can pretty much dismiss the division at this point. Welcome into Huskers Live right here at the Voice of College Football, a 94th edition. Holy smokes, 94 of these, and we're back on a Monday night, and appreciate everybody's flexibility of joining us on Monday because we've got the college football playoff rankings reveal watch party on Tuesday, and especially Greg's ability and his flexibility to get here on a Monday night. Hey, Greg.
Hey, Mark. Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. How you doing?
Hanging in there. Doing our
Good.
best.
That's good. You didn't dress up as anything?
You had me on so early, I didn't have time to put my costume on. I only had time enough to put the chair outside with the skeleton sitting in it and a jug of candy out there. So
the trick-or-treaters are coming around tonight. They didn't do that over the weekend?
Oh, no, it always happens on Halloween night.
Okay.
So we're doing this now. I figured I better just let Mr. Skeleton handle the handing the candy out duties tonight.
I don't think he sets a quota, though. He lets them take whatever they want.
Hey, first come, first serve.
Okay. All right. Huskers lose to Illinois 26-9. We want to remind everyone that our Huskers live show is brought to you by Gene Arthur Associates. Our friends there at Gene Arthur Associates, responsible for sending 2 lucky fans to Nebraska football games, 2 ticket giveaways down, 2 to go. We've got Minnesota coming up this Saturday. We also have a Wisconsin game later in the month. You can get your tickets by going to Gene Arthur Associates on Facebook and on Instagram. You like it, follow it, share it, do all those good things that you do on social media, and you're automatically entered. Check out the Huskers taking on Minnesota this Saturday at Memorial Stadium. Well, I guess we got to talk about this loss, 26-9, and it pretty much spelled doom when Casey Thompson left the game, and it was pretty obvious that they were not going to move the ball against what's statistically the best defense in the country. It's going to be tough enough with Casey Thompson, but once he left the game, and I know he threw some picks, but still, without him, that's about all she wrote.
Yeah, you pretty much said it all right there. I mean, Casey wasn't, he wasn't having a great game, but, he made some bad throws, but he made some good throws too. And, it was still a game. And then he goes down and you could just tell the air out was left, let out of the stadium when he went down. And, after you get the news that he's done for the game, I think Nebraska was just obviously they were overwhelmed and they really, I'm not quite sure what they wanted to do because you got a taste of Logan Smothers there at the end of the first half, and that didn't look real good. And then I heard that obviously I wasn't watching the broadcast, but apparently Mickey Joseph had said that that Logan Smothers was going to start the second half, and it was Chubba Purdy that came out there, and I don't know. I think Mickey was just just leaving it up to Whipple to do the best thing that he kind of thought how they could stay in the game, and it just wasn't pretty. A lot of mistakes, and you just couldn't hang with them the rest of the time. I mean, the defense did their best. They didn't play bad at all, but all of a sudden you lose your leader and you abandon the run game, and it's all downhill from there, unfortunately. But they didn't give up, but it was just obviously that it was just too high of a hill to climb.
From what I remember out of the 2 interceptions, and I watched the game, was one you could basically say was Casey Thompson's fault.
Yeah, it was a bad
one was not his fault. Deflected ball up in the air. 7 of 15 for $172. So he was getting big chunk plays on those passes. He threw for 172 on only 7 completions. So, they had a fighting chance against a good team at home as long as he was in the game. And it was a strange, as you just outlined, watching the game based on what Tom Luganville, the ABC sideline reporter, had to say. They talked about, well, we were at practice. Chubba Purdy was getting the second team reps. Logan Smothers is the first option that they go to. Surprisingly, they weren't expecting that. And then, like you said, there was the big flip at halftime where we were expecting more of Smothers, and then Purdy comes back out. And did anyone ask Mickey Joseph about that? Did you catch any response?
Oh, I don't think any of us really knew about what was said on the broadcast.
Okay.
In the post game press conference, but the thing that really sticks in my craw is that it didn't seem like either one of those two guys were ready to play. Why did you come here if you're not, going 100% in there and chomping at the bit to get some playing time? I get it. They probably, neither one of them got a lot of first team reps or have been getting any first team reps for a while. But to me, it just seems like the offense was kind of lost with both of those guys in there. And, if they're going to come here, for gosh sakes, be ready to play. Why are you coming here? You just want to, wear a sweatsuit and eat steaks and lobsters and coast through school? I don't know. That's kind of the impression that was left with me. But, they're both limited in what they can do. And I know Mickey had said that, somebody did ask him, if Mickey had any thoughts of Logan Smothers in the second half. And he just flat out said no. That was in the post game. So obviously, I believe Mark Whipple thinks that Chubba Purdy was their best chance to, at least stay in the game. But, in my opinion, I didn't think Chubba Purdy was ready to go out there. But, it is what it is. We don't know the status of Casey Thompson. From what we heard after the game, it's a day-by-day thing. I'd been hearing different. I was getting reports at halftime from people in the stadium that he was done for the year. He couldn't move his fingers, but I don't know. This is all secondhand information that I'd gotten, but we'll see moving forward. It's kind of scary. I wouldn't be surprised if he is done for the year, but we'll see tomorrow when the weekly press conference goes on Tuesday morning tomorrow.
So we don't think that this injury is anything related to Casey Thompson's injury that he had at Texas that kind of made its way into the spring season.
No, I heard this was like a forearm type thing and it might have been a stinger. For those that have played the game and have had stingers, sometimes, they last for a couple hours. Sometimes they last for a day, or sometimes they last for a week. You just don't know until the medical professionals can get in there and figure out what's going on.
So, Chubba Purdy comes into the game, and they were just really hamstrung offensively. And
your best player, Trey Palmer, has one catch for 1 yard. It's that's a problem right there. And, the running game stalls out. Anthony Grant was getting some tough yards in the first half, and then you don't really even go to him anymore in the second half. And it's just you kind of abandon what you're trying to do. So, it was just I think it was just a shock to the whole system that is going on there when all of a sudden your starting quarterback is out for the game.
All right, folks, appreciate you being here. And keep in mind that Nebraska Live is brought to you by our fine folks there at Gene Arthur Associates. And we've got another big Nebraska ticket giveaway to present to you for the Minnesota game coming up this Saturday night for the Minnesota game and the Wisconsin games. And if you enter and you don't get selected for the Minnesota game, understand that you are already entered for the Wisconsin game. So all is good to go as long as you go to Gene Arthur Associates on Facebook and like, share, and follow Gene Arthur Associates on Facebook and Instagram, and you're automatically entered. I'm going to drop the link there in the live chat, and you can catch up with it right there. But we've had 2 lucky ticket winners for the Illinois game and back on in October for the Indiana game. Yeah, they did show a little bit of life before they got shut down. They had a brief lead, and Anthony Grant was gaining some yardage, and Travis Martinez had a big play.
Catch, and yeah, I mean there were some good things going on. Travis Vokalek had a nice contribution there with a long touchdown, and it is what it was. I mean, nobody responds well usually when their starting quarterback goes out, and that's kind of what we saw. Everything in disarray after that.
Ryan, appreciate you being here. Thanks for the show today, you guys. First and foremost, we need to talk about the players. We are in dire straits. Casey Thompson's hand has had surgery before. Was he at 100% in the beginning of the season?
They said he was. I mean, obviously he had those problems in the spring, but, all accounts was that he was completely 100% ready to go to start the season, 100% healthy. He's taking a beating. I mean, seriously, if you watch the games, they're not easy for him. I mean, he's taking some shots, and you're always scared about his health, no matter what. But, yeah, when it is that hand and that arm, it's even a little extra scary. Not because it's Halloween, but it always is when you depend on that arm to make your living.
Well, Mickey Joseph is getting evaluated every game. Now, this is a tough one because he lost the starting quarterback. And I got to think that Illinois was the better team, even with Casey Thompson. But you had a fighting shot with Casey Thompson. You definitely had a fighting shot. And I hate in any game, regardless of who I'm rooting for or if I'm not rooting at all, I want to see the two teams at their best and the best players on the field. And when an offense just gets completely shut down and has so many limitations because the quarterback's not there, it's tough to watch. And that's what we had. Yep. Jeffrey G61, can we please stop with the Mickey for head coach talk? Great guy, good assistant, but Husker football needs a complete rework. That's certainly a thought.
Yeah, it's his opinion. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We don't know if Mickey Joseph's the right guy or not. You got to let things play out. And I think Mickey Joseph has definitely put himself as a candidate to be a head coach somewhere.
Yeah.
If not Nebraska, I think he deserves a shot, somewhere else. But, he didn't expect to be the head coach at Nebraska this year, in his first season here either. And, but I think he's got a lot of resources to fall back on as well. And I think we touched on it last week too, is that, he's been coaching longer than Scott Frost has. He's older than Scott Frost. And so he's been coaching a long time at a lot of different levels. And, obviously his goal is to be a head coach, but I mean, I hate to be Trev Alberts right now trying to figure out what you're going to do. And obviously you have to go through the whole process and interview all the top candidates possible. And like we've talked about before, it's, a lot of these candidates for the job are busy working right now, and you can't really, you can't contact them until, their at least their regular season's over with. And so, I mean, I believe things are going to ramp up. And it to me, all right. So when Scott Frost was coming in, was being hired, okay, it was right after, it was that Saturday after the Friday game against Iowa that Mike Riley was fired, right? And so I expect the same type of thing here, is that we're either going to know if Mickey Joseph gets the job. I think we're going to know before the Iowa game. If not, I think you're going to expect to have a press conference on that Saturday, with some clarification and maybe, announcing a new hire on that day. So, like I know a lot of the Nebraska media that were, had planned to stay over Friday night in Iowa City and enjoy Iowa City aren't doing that now. They're going to be coming. They're going to be coming right back home, because you got to be ready to go for a press conference to be called at any time following that game, that Black Friday game.
Yeah, I think that makes total sense. I can't poke a hole in that theory one way or the other. Not at all. Not at all. Yeah, I don't think they're going to say after the Iowa game, Mickey Joseph is not going to be the head coach, and now we're going to go on a search. I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I mean, there's going to be things in place by that time that it's either a yay or nay, and or this is the direction we're moving in. And like I said, Trev Alberts, he's the guy on the hot seat, basically, not for his job, but for the next major move in Nebraska football. And it's kind of funny side note, in the pregame, I was there on the sideline. I think I was shooting some B-roll of Brett Bielema, and all of a sudden I get knocked into, and it's Trev Alberts backing up to take a picture with somebody. And he's like, "I'm sorry, Greg." I'm like, "No, don't worry, Trev. It's okay. No harm done, man." It was funny.
Yeah. Oh, man. How long has it been since you got bowled over on the sideline?
It's funny. Somebody else asked me that too, because I was on the other sideline after that incident, and there was a lot of where all the recruits are and all their parents and stuff, and I was right up in there. The DBs were doing their warm-ups, and Travis Fisher was throwing little short passes, and the DBs were catching them and coming off sideline catches, basically. One of them comes and runs into me like that too. So I was actually asked by a kid's dad about that, and I went into that whole situation. But last time was probably Rashawn Gary, when he was going into his senior year of high school. As the number one player in the country, was the last time I actually got knocked off of my feet. And that was a offensive line, defensive line, one-on-one drill, and the whistle had been blown and blown and blown, and he was still chugging his offensive linemen down as far as he could, and they ran into me, and I never stopped the shot either. You can see my feet go up in the air in the shot, and everybody come and pick me up, and I never miss the next snap or the next rep anyway, so. Yeah, it goes with the territory. But I'm pretty experienced now where, I can get out of the way unless it's coming from behind me most of the time. Like Trev Alberts got me there. Otherwise, they don't hurt much, because you can see it coming, and you can brace for the impact, and you can kind of get out of the way if you're nimble enough. And that's getting tougher and tougher every year for me.
Got to be able to move in all directions.
Absolutely.
backpedal, shuffle to the side,
I remember the last time I think was that I really. This was before the Rayshon Gary I'm talking about. Tay Bender was a quarterback for Lincoln Southwest here. It was the first couple of years I was back here in Lincoln, coming off of the national team at Rivals, and that's when he had Josh Banderas was on his team, and they had some D1 guys on there, and Tay Bender actually he went to K-State for a couple of years. He played for Lincoln Southwest. He had a big run down the sideline, and I was a good 5 yards off of the sideline doing my thing, and coming right at me, and I'm like, yeah, great shot, and by the time he gets close enough to thinking that, oh my God, he's going to hit me, that's the time when you had a split-second decision: should I go right or should I go left? Unfortunately, I went left, and that's where he went. And boom! That one hurt. But I didn't miss the next play.
Right there.
Yeah.
Sticking your nose in it, coming back for the next play. Didn't even tap out for a play.
These guys don't know. These guys never played against me when I was back in playing. I was a tough guy, so yeah, I took a beating, and I always gave out a licking too.
I don't question that. Gene Arthur Associates, everyone, for home and auto and all your insurance needs. The link is in the description section of all the videos. So every video here at the Voice of College Football GPR, you can find right at the top of the description section the link to Gene Arthur Associates to get your instant quote on home, auto, and all your insurance needs. But first and foremost, until the end of this regular season, we are getting after this ticket giveaway. So, folks, Nebraska football ticket giveaway, you get 2 tickets to this Saturday's game against Minnesota. If you don't win that, you're automatically entered into the ticket giveaway for the Wisconsin game. Just go to Gene Arthur Associates on Facebook, Instagram, follow, like, and share. That's what you do right there. We are going to have our Minnesota guy, Daniel House, on here in a few minutes from Gophers Guru.
Ooh,
break down the Minnesota side of the battle against the Huskers here coming up on Saturday. When is game time for that one?
11 a.m. Central. Big noon.
Oh, it sounds like a Big Ten game. Big Ten Network game.
ESPN2 game.
Oh, ESPN2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But
11 a.m. Central.
Yeah, great for me. I got to go to Omaha area Friday night for a high school playoffs game, and then be at the stadium about 8 a.m. on Saturday morning. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Who are you going to see on Friday night?
We got 2 games picked out. I'm going to send my intern Blake. I think I'm going to go. I'm probably going to go to Gretna, and then send Blake to Elkhorn South. I think those are our 2 best matchups. Bell West against Elkhorn South. That's one. Or is it no? Yeah, I'll go to that one, and then Gretna and who the heck are they playing? Oh, drawing a blank. Anyway, gonna go see some more Husker commits. Obviously, I'll pull it up here.
While you're doing that,
I'll
let everyone know.
So, yeah, Creighton Prep at Elkhorn South. I'll go do that one. You got Sam Sledge, Husker commit, offensive lineman, going against Maverick Noonan, defensive end commit. And I'm going to send old Blaker over to Bellevue Bellevue West at Gretna. So you got some offer kids there on both sides for Nebraska. So, yeah, those are the 2 best matchups for the week. Should be good. We both did the same thing last week, but in reverse order. Since I was at Elkhorn South and I sent him to Gretna.
We've got Minnesota as a 10.5 point favorite The over-under is 46.5. So let's see. Vegas says this game's going to be 28-18. That's your final score.
You know what? That sounds pretty good to me. I mean,
Okay.
it sounds logical to me.
That's their 46.5.
Last week with Illinois, I know that Nebraska was one of the big popular dogs to be taken for the weekend. But, you know, and I think that probably would have played out if Casey Thompson wouldn't have got hurt. But it is what it is.
Yeah. Just about every pick I made last weekend seemed to run into bad luck like that. So, yeah, taking Nebraska in the points went south on me.
You know what? I haven't even looked all year since week 1 or week 2, whatever. You said I had the best record, and I have not looked since.
I think it's still pretty strong here.
I've been horrible. No, I've been horrible.
I'm not going to be able to.
I don't even want to know what it is.
Well, let's see here. Let's look it up, and then we'll bring our Minnesota guy in here. I still need to send him the link. So we've got for Greg. So on Patreon, MarkRogersTV on Patreon, get on over there. You get Greg's picks each week. And so going into this week, you were 69-30 straight up.
Really?
You were 59-40 against the spread. That's pretty good. That's 59%. All right. This week, let's add up this week because you picked Notre Dame 1-0, TCU 2-0, Ohio State 3-0, Oklahoma State 3-1. Why won't this thing cooperate? 3-1, Georgia 4-1, Illinois 5-1, Oregon 6-1, Tennessee 7-1, USC 8-1, Michigan 9-1, Ole Miss 10-1, North Carolina. You went 11-1 straight up.
Wow.
Against the spread, you took North Carolina. Hang on just a second. You took I lost my spot. We got to get Greg record. 11-1 straight up. That's phenomenal.
I had no idea that I could even ever be.
Okay, he took Notre Dame. That's a win against the spread. TCU, that's a win. Penn State, that's a win. That's 3-0. Oklahoma State, that's a loss. 3-1. Florida covered 4-1. Nebraska did not. 4-2. Oregon, I got to check the line. They covered 5-2. Shoot, when I move this, I lose track of where you are. 5-2 with Oregon. Tennessee 6-2. USC 6-3. Michigan State 7-3. Ole Miss 8-3. North Carolina. I believe you went 9-3 against the spread.
Maybe I'm in the wrong business.
You are this year. That's 68-43. That'll make you some money. 68-43 against the spread.
All right, so I'm gonna start making a radio commercial and send out my
send it out.
And people send me your credit card info, and I'll give you my picks.
I guess.
I'm shocked. Seriously.
You are knocking them dead. Knocking them dead. D-Spark68 says Vegas has changed from 10.5 to 15 from what I saw. Maybe it was another site.
I haven't even looked personally. It's kind of weird. It's just such a strange feeling not being around on Mondays down there since Mickey Joseph took over and kind of changed our schedule to the team having Mondays off now. So I tell you, every Tuesday morning, or Tuesday is not bad. Wednesday mornings when I get up, I think it's Tuesday still, and have a real hard time comprehending that it's actually Wednesday already. So it's kind of thrown me, not just myself, but a lot of the people kind of body clock off.
D-Park68 would like you to check out Bramer at the Pierce playoff game.
Oh, I love Ben Bramer. Great kid, great player, huge upside. Yeah, unfortunately, Pierce is a little bit too far away, especially when we have an 11 a.m. game on Saturday. But I'm about 99.9% confident that Pierce will make the state title game right here in Lincoln. So, but I've seen him play already so many times, and I have a lot of great video on him as well. So it's just, in this day and age, right now with the way recruiting is, this is a guy that's already locked in. He's been committed for 2 years now, and just not a high priority at this point, compared to some other kids in the Class A realm right now that have not made their decision yet. So, but no, I mean, yeah, Ben Bramer, he'll be a player here at Nebraska. I'm pretty sure. Maybe not at the tight end spot, but at the wide receiver position. For a big, 6'5" frame, and he can run. A lot like a Thomas Fedoni type guy. So yeah, Nebraska's got a gem there. Ben Bramer out of Pierce, Nebraska, and his dad's been the head coach there forever, and he's also the principal at Pierce High School.
The Minnesota Golden Gophers broke a Big Ten 3-game losing streak with a victory against Rutgers in shutout fashion, 31-0. We got Daniel House on the line from Gophers Guru. Daniel, how you doing tonight?
Hey guys, how you doing? I'm doing well.
Got the headphones rocking. Nice.
Yeah, I got some new headphones, so testing them out. Hopefully they work great.
Had to test them out on our show.
Yeah, I saved them for you, Mark, just for you.
Absolutely. Well, good to see you. We saw a Minnesota team that for the first 4 games of the season, albeit against lesser competition, appeared to be what a lot of people expected in the offseason, and that would be the best team in the Big Ten Western Division. Now, here we are because of Illinois being able to hold serve with only 1 loss in the Big Ten, and that a curious one at this point in the season when you look back about the Illini losing to Indiana. But they're holding serve, of course, and they've got a date against Purdue coming up that's going to be huge. Minnesota gets back in the win column, 31-0 against Rutgers. We know what the Rutgers offense has been, which has been dismal. Obviously, they fired their offensive coordinator a few weeks ago, but the defense has been respectable. Minnesota broke it open in the fourth quarter. Just your evaluation of the Gophers on Saturday.
Yeah, just a classic old school physical football game. Running the football, mixing it up, inside zone, outside zone, mid zone, split zone. Featuring Brevin Spanford, tight end, in the scheme, getting him lined up in different places to create numbers advantages in the run and pass game. The big thing with Minnesota this season has been just the wide receivers not being able to consistently catch the ball, win in contested catch situations, and just get open consistently when teams are playing man coverage. You got a lot of teams just stacking the box, playing man coverage on the perimeter, forcing Minnesota's wide receivers to get open and taking away the run game. But despite Rutgers dedicating a lot of resources to the run game, Minnesota just was able to win up front, generate a lot of movement, and do some things formationally that got them some good matchups. So that was kind of the story in the Rutgers game.
I'll get you one more question, and then I'll cut Greg loose here. Obviously, with the aspirations of this team going into the season with the head-to-head tiebreaker loss against Illinois, the Illini again, 1 loss, and Minnesota with 3 in the conference. It looks as though the division's out of play. What is this team playing for? Do you think the team is motivated to achieve something in this season?
Oh, yeah, I think there's a lot to play for. I'm going to Nebraska this week, and also have games against Iowa and Wisconsin, both trophy matchups. And a lot of experienced players came back this season with high aspirations, lots of 6-year players, and they're all sticking around, playing hard. And the team is just every week trying to get better. That 3-game losing streak, it was just a lot of different things. Like the Purdue game, 4 or 5 plays, you had a drop touchdown in the end zone. Goes right through the receiver's hands, Mike Brown-Stevens, interception. Huge lightning rod moment in the game. So you go back, you look at 3 plays in that game. Then you play the Illinois game, and Illinois has a great scheme, puts together a plan that Minnesota wasn't quite ready for. Defensively, gave up a few big plays, couldn't get off the field. Or on the field for 86 snaps defensively. Offensively, they couldn't sustain anything. And then you go to Penn State, and it's explosive plays. The tight end was featured prominently attacking cover 2 in the middle of the field, and Minnesota gave up too many explosive plays. So it was a different theme in each game, but if you swap out and execute in a couple of plays here or there, you might have won one of those games, and you're probably talking differently about the Big Ten West race. So it's just been little things like that. Chris Ottman-Bell's injury was a big deal too. They really needed him in that wide receiver room, and sort of didn't have players pan out to expectations. Someone like Dalen Wright, a transfer that came from Texas A&M last year that they were hoping would make a big leap, just hasn't been able to do that. And then Mo Ibrahim missed the Purdue game as well, so that was a big factor in that one too.
Greg, you got anything for Daniel?
What kind of got me, Daniel, was when they announced the game time at 11 a.m. I don't like those, but I was a little bit excited because, that's going to throw Minnesota off a little bit. You got to travel down here, on Friday, get in here, later afternoon on Friday, and basically, try to get settled in the hotel and stuff. And, everything's accelerated for Minnesota. Go right to meetings, and then right to bed pretty much when you're still kind of you're probably coming into town where it's getting dark, and you're trying to see a little bit of the city, and you got to be ready to go for an 11 a.m. kickoff. Has there been much talk about that around the team?
There hasn't been a lot of talk around the 11 a.m. game. They played quite a few of those in the past. This is an experienced team that's played in a lot of those situations. They had an 11 a.m. game in Illinois earlier this season, a couple of primetime games mixed in there as well. So they played in, different start times throughout this season and before as well, because they have a lot of 6-year players. So it's definitely not something that the players aren't used to before.
Right. And, Nebraska, obviously, including last week and to finish out the season, going up against some of the best running backs in the country, basically. And, that's, they did a decent job last week in the first half. And then when things kind of got away with it, they gave up some yards. But I don't know, is Minnesota just looking to pound the ball when they get here, or what are they kind of thinking?
Yeah, I'd say run the ball is definitely the formula right now, just with the way Minnesota's passing game has looked. They sort of did some things with Brevin Spann-Ford, moving him out wide into the slot, in line as an H-back sort of tight end, and trying to just put him in different alignments to mess with the defense and then get him opportunities to get open through design. So watch tight end Brevin Spann-Ford as kind of the weapon in the passing game. They wanted to find ways to sort of get the quick passing game established and find a rhythm offensively. That's been the thing this year. The passing game hasn't been able to get going early, and then they've been behind the sticks, average to go distances in that 8-yard range, 7.5. And then you're climbing uphill. You're not efficient on early downs. So that certainly impacts your offensive play calling strategy. So last week, what you saw is Minnesota come out, but blending between the run and pass, moving players around formationally, and sort of being able to successfully run the ball, even when Rutgers was stacking the box a little bit, still able to find ways through design and scheme tweaks. Look at Mo Ibrahim. Unbelievable. 60% of his yards came after contact in the last game, 9 forced missed tackles. And I don't even think he's 100% right now. Like, he was injured in the Purdue game, didn't play in the Purdue game, got injured against Michigan State, and has, missed one game, came back, had the bye week, but still doesn't even feel like he's 100% yet. But Minnesota's offensive line, a lot of new faces up there that had to adjust this season. I felt like this was the best game overall for execution in the run game. Still have some liabilities in the pass game, protection side of things that PJ Fleck talked about with us today, that he'd like to see that get tuned up. Pad level in the run game being more consistent. But I would say the formula is definitely the running the football and maybe a little more misdirection than Minnesota has shown before. I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, just starting to dig into Nebraska a bit.
Hey, I'll take a subpar, sub 100% Mo Ibrahim over almost anybody anyway.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'll say this about Mo. Like, Mo is one of the most unique players that I've covered while doing Minnesota. Like, he approaches the game and sees it differently than a lot of people. That's what PJ Fleck was talking about with us recently, is just his knowledge of the system. When he was out last year with the torn Achilles, he was sitting in right with the coaches, learning the scheme, so he could see the game differently. And PJ said it reminded him a lot of Doug Martin, his pass protection skills when he was in Tampa Bay in the NFL. I just said he's one of the best backs he's been around, just seeing the game. And so it's been fun watching Mo play this year. He gives it his all every week and runs with just insane pad level. I think that's the unique trait that he brings.
So I want to. What was kind of the the mood around there? I know it was maybe a week ago, maybe it was 2 weeks ago, when somebody had said that PJ Fleck was and Nebraska had mutual interest in. And I don't want to make fun of the person that broke that on Twitter or anything like that. But how was that accepted there in Minneapolis?
It didn't gain any traction up in Minneapolis, that's for sure. But yeah, I don't know. That's something that did catch steam in the news cycle up here.
Yeah, that's funny. So with the uncertainty right now with Nebraska at the quarterback position too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I mean, that's got to be something that PJ Fleck and his coaching staff's kind of sweating about right now, because you don't know what you're going to get.
Well, that's been the story all year. I mean, you go back to Purdue, Aiden O'Connell had an injury. They weren't sure if he was going to play. Illinois, DeVito, he was injured the previous week in the Iowa game. Then you play Penn State. Sean Clifford's got a shoulder problem. You don't know if Drew Aller or him's going. Then last week, you got the same situation with the quarterbacks as well at Rutgers, where you thought maybe Wimsatt might play or Vedral. You weren't quite sure. And now this week, again, you have quarterback uncertainty. You don't know who's going to play. So Joe Rossi and the defensive staff are just preparing for everything. And I believe, Casey Thompson, just watching what he's done this season and what he brings to the offense, if he's unavailable, that changes a lot of things. I mean, I'm watching the Trey Palmer matchup out of the slot, 70% rate in the slot right now. How will Minnesota defend that? They've mixed the nickel spot with Beanie Bishop, Ryan Stapp. Michael Dixon's been more of the hybrid versatile nickel. So I want to see that matchup in this game. Trey Palmer, I think he's an impressive player. One of the highest graded receiver right now in the Power 5 via Pro Football Focus. So I love watching him play, and I'm excited for that matchup just to see how Minnesota approaches that. I think this game will probably come down to Minnesota's defensive line versus Nebraska's O-line. Minnesota's defensive line has not really lived up to what I thought maybe it would in terms of just being able to get interior pocket push. I think that was the recipe for success last year, where edge rushers were able to get better matchups and retrace rushes and finish sacks, where this year they have not received that level of pass rush win inside. So I'm expecting a lot of D-line stunts, maybe a few blitzes here and there. Just looking at Nebraska's O-line, go back, watching some of the film and stuff. Those are the things that I could see Minnesota trying to use a little bit.
I'm kind of thinking now this is just if Casey Thompson cannot play, I'm thinking maybe it's you get a double dose of you got Chubba Purdy
for sure,
kind of running things normally, and then you got Logan Smothers coming in running a lot of RPO and trying to take advantage of that. So that could work in Nebraska's favor if that's the outcome. I mean, we won't know anything more until tomorrow, 11:30 a.m. Central, when Mickey Joseph takes the podium tomorrow. But a lot of interesting storylines going on, a few days before this game right now.
Yeah, I think so too. And I was just digging into Nebraska's defense a bit, and I'm looking at the advanced stats, going, okay, what was the difference when Bill Busch took over defensively? So you go back and you look at it, and I look at expected points added per play, and I went, okay, this is just a bit of an improvement. You see it on film, obviously, watching them play, but number 121 out of 131 teams under Chenander. Now you're up to 32 in defensive expected points added. The bigger thing was the limiting of explosive plays. They're number 20 right now in the explosiveness metric, and they're doing a very good job on passing downs. They're 5th in the FBS right now in passing downs expected points added. So being able to limit explosive plays, do a better job on passing downs, that's been the difference. And also just seeing them simplify the scheme down, let those guys play fast, don't put too much on their plate. That's what I see when I look at their defense, and I'm kind of curious to get your take on that.
Yeah, I mean, it really is. It's been a complete attitude change and simplifying things like that. It's just basically read and react now. Don't worry about where you think you're supposed to be. Just play fast and free. And, it's really made a big difference. And installing, I mean, obviously there's some injuries there, and you have guys that are having to step up. I mean, losing Nick Henrich is a big deal. As a captain as well. But obviously, I mean, if you even look last week, Luke Reimer he had a big game and stepped up, and he's the one who's taken over that leadership role. But and guys like Isaac Gifford have come up big at the nickel spot, and I think it's just they're playing more together. Malcolm Herzog as a true freshman thrown in there as a starting corner has really played very well. Guys just getting opportunities that that they hadn't been getting, I think, has made a big difference. And Bill Busch really, he brings out the best in guys, just like Mickey Joseph does. I mean, I couldn't think of better motivators in the game. I mean, PJ Fleck would be right up there in my book as well. But these guys know how to motivate their players and get on the same level with them. And you just don't give them too much to think about, and just go out there and have fun and play the game that you know how to play, that you've been playing forever. And it's made a big difference, obviously. I'm not sure that Coach Chenander had success, obviously, in the previous few years. But I'm not sure where the wheels all fell off there. But obviously Bill Busch has come in and has been a big difference maker. And you see a defense now that plays a lot more physical than they had been. And, starting to come up with some of those plays that had been lacking earlier in the season.
Well, that's what I'm watching for, is the physicality on both sides of the ball. Minnesota's very physical, especially on their O-line, and that's the way they played last week. So I want to see how Nebraska responds to that right away, because I feel like Minnesota will try to hit hard with outside zone, maybe some misdirection, try to be creative in the running game to just get the physicality established early on, get off to a quick start, and then sort of milk the clock. That was the name of the game against Rutgers. I think with Nebraska's defense, I always comp defensive football to, like, when you watch Gordon Ramsay and he goes to those like kitchen nightmare shows,
Exactly.
And he's like, simplify your menu, do what you do best. And you know what? You just cook the very good steak and give the nice side, You don't have to have the big menu. That's when you get into trouble. You aren't as good defensively because you got a lot on guys' plates, versus simplifying it down, get them to play fast, mix up your coverages, and that's how you got to play. The little subtle tweaks that make it hard for the offense to diagnose the coverage, change that picture. That's the key.
And in my book, Minnesota's been the much more physical team the last 4 or 5 years, seriously, which is very disturbing for Nebraska fans and faithful. So that is obviously that's the biggest change that's been made since Mickey Joseph and Bill Bush kind of took over running things.
Yeah, and that's what Nebraska fans, I feel like, are looking for.
That's what Nebraska was based on for all those years, is out physical the opponent.
Yep, and it just hasn't been that way. When you watch them play, especially early in the season, I'm like, man, this does not look like Big Ten physicality at all.
But Northwestern pushed them all over the place. Yeah,
unbelievable to see them get pushed around like that. So I'm just interested to see what they do this offseason, how they approach the head coach search. Do they stick with Mickey? How do they handle it? I'm very fascinated in how that search ends.
Yep, and I think the whole country is.
Yeah,
fascinated by it too.
Well, that's the thing. I think that physicality is the big thing. Being able to, find someone who's going to prioritize that at Nebraska again. That's the key. Set that tone, establish that culture, get it rolling.
Yep.
Got Daniel House on the line. You can catch him covering the Minnesota Gophers there at Gophers Guru. Also, the NFL Vikings Corner, your two Twitter destinations. That's gophersguru.com as well. And Daniel, I'll leave you on this, a Tanner Morgan question, because obviously, we talked quite a bit during the offseason about is this a return to 2019 with Kirk Shiraka taking the offense back over as he had in 2019. Obviously, it's not been that. And Tanner Morgan, unlike any quarterback that comes to mind, has almost had two different careers, not in regards to winning percentage necessarily, because of the upgraded defense and running game in the last few years, but certainly, those 30 TD, 7 pick numbers from 2019. So what has happened there? What has not happened?
Isn't he about 32 years old now?
It seems like it was forever ago that has not allowed him to regain that kind of form.
Yeah, I'd say it just comes down to receiver play right now. You look at 2019 when Minnesota was successful, it was multi-dimensional offense. And I say that like you got to decide how you want to play Minnesota. You got Mo Ibrahim and Rodney Smith, Shannon Brooks in the backfield. You're able to run the ball. So it's like, all right, do you want to dedicate an extra defender in the box? But then you got receivers on the outside that can win vertically. You're able to throw that ball downfield, get people into those coverages, and then you come back with the RPOs in that quick game. Well, you had the receivers with Tyler Johnson, Rashad Bateman, Chris Ottman-Bell, Demetrius Douglas, 4 very good receivers. Yeah. This year, you haven't been able to have that type of wide receiver play. You got Chris Ottman-Bell, who was injured in the non-conference play. Daniel Jackson's a good receiver, but he was injured early in camp, worked his way back, then coming in trying to get his footing. Then Dalen Wright, transfer earlier that I talked about from Texas A&M, who you went to practices and he just natural ability, 6'3", 210, big body target, just would win all these big plays in practice. And you're going, okay, I see some flashes. Maybe he's going to take the next step. And then it just hasn't clicked. So he, to me, felt like the X factor player on offense. Minnesota needed another receiver, especially after Chris Ottman-Bell went down. So not having him has sort of led to Minnesota not having the receiver talent to win against man coverage. So what you saw a lot in these last 3 games is, cover one, lots of people in the box, force Minnesota to get open on the perimeter, people sitting on those RPOs, taking those away, and making Minnesota unable to be multi-dimensional offensively. They've been more one-dimensional in that area, so it takes everything you got. You got to use formations. You got to use motion. You got to find ways to get your playmakers the football and lean more on tight end Brevin Spanford, who 6'7", 270-pound tight end with a basketball background that can go up and get the ball, win in space. So you saw the last 2 games him become the feature point in the offense with a lot of different designs and moving him all over. So that's what Nebraska fans should watch for. I'm interested to see if Nebraska takes the approach of man coverage and just really try to lock it down, press at the line of scrimmage, and take away the run game. That's how I would probably guess that they'll scheme.
That's what I'm thinking too. Yep.
Minnesota opened as a 10.5-point favorite. It's ballooned to the 14 to 15-point range. Much of that has to do with Casey Thompson's status at this point. Right. Daniel House. Daniel, we would like everyone to be able to catch up with your work. So where's the best place to find you?
You can check out my work at gophersgear.com, a $5 subscription package for the premium content for all subscribers.
Awesome. Daniel, thanks so much for stopping by. Enjoy the game on Saturday.
It's always great. Love talking with you guys.
What do you think, before you go, what do you think?
Yeah.
What do you think about my Bears trading away Roquan Smith?
Well, I was surprised. I wasn't surprised, but I'm going, well, the Bears are trying to get all these picks. I think they have 6 picks in the first 4 rounds now in the draft. So Ryan Poles is saying, all right, let's get all these picks. Let's try to rebuild this thing with some youth, get some receivers for Justin Fields. Now you got to dedicate all these resources to the defense because you trade away Robert Quinn, you trade away Roquan Smith. I don't think, they got some young pieces in the secondary, Jalen Johnson. You can build around that, but now you got to figure out the pass rush and the linebacker spot now. So there's going to be some retooling going on, but with Eberflus playing the 4-3 defense, you want to see them get the right personnel. So I guess Roquan, if you can get that pick and you feel comfortable with it, that's what you do, because he probably is someone that you're not going to have long term. Might as well get that pick compensation.
Yep, and you have the most calories cap space in the whole NFL going into next year. So
right, so you're positioned well with all those picks in the first 4 rounds, 6 of them, and then all that money. So now you'll see if the Bears made the right general manager hire. I see flashes though with the coaching staff with Eberflus, and I see them playing with better fundamentals. Not as many of those mistakes where you're going, it just doesn't look like this team's well coached. I see more flashes, and I like how you're starting to see some things get built around Justin Fields that suits his strengths. So, yeah, we just went on NFL talk. We can talk about NFL, but
I'll throw one more at you.
I know why I like you, Daniel.
I'll throw one more at you. Are the Vikings equipped to go deep into the playoffs?
Here's what I'll say about the Vikings. I want to see if they make a trade tomorrow, because I look and I watch the All-22 and I look at their offense right now and I say, all right, if they could get one vertical stretch receiver with some speed, it would add another dimension to that offense, because you look at Justin Jefferson, how teams are taking him away right now, and watching KJ and Thielen get better matchups. The route running ability with one vertical stretch receiver to complement that, I think that would be one of the missing pieces with the offense. I do think that the defense has a little bit of a liability at nickel corner with Shannon Sullivan. So maybe they go that route, try to trade for nickel corner like Sean Murphy-Bunting from the Tampa Bay Bucks is someone that I admire on. But I look at their offense. I say, do you make a move on offense or defense? I think you make the move on offense because of the weapons that you have on that side of the ball. If you can outscore everybody, your defense is probably a middle of the pack group right now. And so I would invest in the offense to try to take it to the next level.
There it is. All right. We could keep going with this. But
hey, this is the best one ever. We get to talk college football and NFL. I love it.
I know. I'm a guy. Some people are like, they all want to talk college football or all NFL. I like a blend of both.
But I can't. The thing that bothers me is when I run into people that are huge college football fans, but don't watch the NFL, don't care for the NFL at all.
Oh, there's a ton of them.
It's mind-boggling to me.
See, what I enjoy is watching the college guys work their way up, and then I see him in the NFL, and I go, I watch this guy's whole career on it.
That guy when he was in high school and when he was in college.
Yeah, you get that because, you watch Boye Mafe play for the Seahawks yesterday, 2nd sack of his career. Like, man, Boye was such a cool guy to cover. That's the fun part.
Exactly.
Speaking of which, Greg, you know what caught my eye last night watching the Bills and Packers? Samori Toure had a huge touchdown.
Let's go.
For the Packers.
Yeah.
And the thing that was awesome to see about that is he hasn't played. He had a great preseason, hasn't played. Yeah. He gets his shot, and he's on the same page with Aaron Rodgers, who throws the deep ball, and he reads the secondary, Toure, and he goes to the end zone, and they're on the same page, and you could tell Rodgers was locked in right with him, ran down the field, and was like, this kid got it. He was – because watching this Packers offense, it resembles nothing like what it was 3 or 4 years ago. Everything's just a dump off into the flats to Aaron Jones. They
side to side.
Hey, I wish the Bears had the Packers coming up this weekend. Because I think the Bears would kill them right now, as opposed to earlier in the year.
Teray, man, I always thought like, man, he could have had an even better career at Nebraska. You know,
it is very solid. You can't, 1 year,
right?
Is what it is. But yeah, if he would have had multiple years, I think obviously, because you see what Trey Palmer's come in and done in 1 year, and has already vaulted himself up the all-time
impressive
receiver list at the university all time. So, some pretty special wide receivers coming through here in their later stages of their career.
Well, that's why if Nebraska can figure out getting physical up front, being able to run the ball, that they've been able to show they can get the playmakers at receiver. Yep. That's been the thing with Minnesota is like that's the next step for them is the receiver talent, and Nebraska I feel like is the physicality.
Exactly. Yep.
So,
well, with the places that NIL might be taking us, maybe there'll be trades in college football at some point soon, and Ohio State may want some defensive back help for some of those wide receivers.
$50,000 in NIL money trade, and cash NIL cash considerations.
That's it. Daniel House, Gophers Guru. Also, you can follow a ton of NFL information if you follow him on Twitter at Daniel House NFL. Daniel, we always love the conversation with you. You're welcome anytime, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me, guys. Always fun.
We'll get to see you in Lincoln Saturday?
I won't be in Lincoln. I'm not making the trip, but hopefully at some point we'll connect.
Okay, sounds good. Well,
all right.
Enjoy the game anyway.
Yeah, you too. We'll see you guys later.
Our guy Daniel House loves the NFL. Yes, he does.
I don't.
All right.
I hate the NFL.
Yeah, I know you do. I don't know why I brought it up. I just wanted to torture you. You brought it up. And I wanted to go with that because I thought of you and this show as soon as I saw Samori Toure haul in that touchdown pass last night. I thought this is good stuff here. All right. I am off to do a call-in show.
Hey, if you don't have Devontae Adams to throw to, what's your second best choice?
He doesn't have too many choices now. I'm taking calls here in about 30 seconds, folks, at the main channel. So join me there. Ask me anything about college football, and we'll preview Week 10. Greg, appreciate you being here. This is our new time. We had a few people ask Monday at 6 Eastern and 5 Central. Thanks to Greg being flexible.
No problem.
I know the back isn't always flexible, but you've been flexible, so that's nice to know.
Well, the nice thing about having Mondays off now is that I got my chiropractor appointment in this morning, so I'm feeling pretty good right now.
Nice. I got one in myself last week.
Nice.
All right, Greg, we appreciate it. We'll see you next week.
Sounds good.
All right, everybody. Back next Monday. We'll see you then.